Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and I am excited for this conversation that I'm about to have with Berenice Rendón. She is the Mexican Consulate General in Colorado, and you also have a few other states, eastern and western parts of states, under your jurisdiction as well. But we're going to talk about USMCA and a recent meeting that you had. It was a US-Mexico Business Summit for Investment.
Yes, that's right. And I want to thank Connect and Collaborate from the Colorado Business Roundtable for letting us come to your program and talk to your audience about these very important issues.
It is an extremely important issue, and as you know, we've partnered with you. We've also partnered with the Consulate General of Canada,
yes,
to talk about USMCA and how important this is. It impacts every industry.
Yes, exactly. Mexico and the United States have a great relation. Bilaterally. It covers so many issues and subjects. But right now, USMCA is the priority, one of the priorities for our government, for the US and also for Canada. And we have been collaborating with the Colorado Business Roundtable on the outreach activities about letting know people how important it is for Colorado and for the country. So there's millions of jobs depending on Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. trade. So that's what is important here.
Yes, absolutely. And just to reiterate for our audience, so we had NAFTA. We got rid of NAFTA, and regardless of getting rid of NAFTA, it needed updates, and we know that.
Yes, it has been 25 years that the NAFTA was in place, and there were some issues at that time that are present now and weren't at that time, like digital trade, other issues like environment issues, labor issues. So it needed to be revamped, as they say. Yeah. But also there was over the base of NAFTA, because so far NAFTA is in place. Until we get to the ratification of USMCA, we are still working on the NAFTA issues and measures and regulations. So, but it's important that we needed to modernize the USMCA to bring certainty to the business community, locally and nationally and regionally, because there were some issues that if we don't renew it, or if someone leave the NAFTA trade, the agreement, then we will have some economic problems in the three countries. So it was that certainty part that we needed to address also for the business community.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been up and down. It's been a real ride so far as I can tell. So you mentioned, we were talking a little bit off air, we're pretty sure that Mexico is going to ratify.
Yeah. Our process is going very well. We just have to cover the constitutional regulations that we have to do that. And we don't foresee any problem for ratification. There was an issue that the U.S. has been stressing, which is the labor regulations in Mexico, and we just passed the new labor law in Mexico to comply with the commitments that we have under USMCA. Our president, Andrés López Obrador, who just started last December, the new government, he has made very clear that Mexico will comply with all the commitments negotiated under USMCA, the newest USMCA.
Which is really exciting, and it's so great that he's willing to commit and change all the regulations to fit for USMCA. It seems like Canada is doing their part as well.
Yeah.
The wild card here is quite obviously our administration in the U.S., and hopefully we can get this passed. I know that the business community, specifically in Colorado, as you know, Canada's our number one trade partner, Mexico's our number two trade partner, right? We have a lot of money coming into the state from both our neighbors to the north and south. And so I know this is a big issue for us, and we're excited to get it passed, and we keep pushing on our end, so we're getting the word out there. But I want to hear more about this business summit for investment and what that entailed.
Okay, yeah. Just recently, last month, Mexico and the U.S. had the U.S.-Mexico CEO Dialogue and Business Summit for Investments, and it was held in the city of Mérida, Yucatan, on April 12th, and it was organized by the Mexico Business Coordinating Council and the United States Chamber of Commerce. Both cover a large range of businesses in Mexico and in the U.S. So this was very important to engage the business community on both sides of the border to promote a closer relationship between Mexico and the U.S. on business issues, but especially on the USMCA. Yeah, so it was a very successful meeting. The president ratified his commitments to the negotiation of the USMCA regulations and the ratification in Mexico. And it was a delegation formed by businessmen from as I was mentioning, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Corporation for Private Investments from the U.S., because Mexico right now also is trying to develop more the south and southern part of the country, which has not been developed as well as the northern part, which is more related to the trade with the United States, especially from the center of the country, the state of Guanajuato, which has become a very industrial base of different sectors. To the north, the country has developed more because of NAFTA before, and we hope that with USMCA it keeps this tendency. But the southern part of the country has not. So that's right now the focus of this government. And the idea of having this meeting in Mérida, Yucatan, in the southeastern part of the country, was exactly to underscore the need to have investments in that part of the country, but especially from the private sector. The government of Mexico has different infrastructure projects for that part of the country, but we need the private sector from our country, and we are inviting the private sector from the U.S. also to view those projects and cooperate and participate in those processes. So it was a very successful because everyone realized the opportunities that there are there for investments, but linked to the USMCA also. So our relationship always goes, economic relationship especially, goes through the channel of the USMCA.
Yeah. What kind of industries are you looking for to move into the southern part of Mexico? Are you open for business for every industry, or are there certain types of businesses you'd like there?
Yeah, well, right now the government is very much interested in developing the tourist and infrastructure areas of that part of the country. There is a project to build the railroad way for to cover the whole peninsula of Yucatan. It's called the Tren Maya, because of the Maya sites that there are in that area that are so important in our history and in culture.
And they're beautiful, by the way.
Yeah. And it's linked also to the Riviera Maya, which has all these beautiful beaches that all Americans love, and we do too.
Yeah.
So the idea is to have that railway built, because there's none, to cover more on a tourist aspect, the whole region. So you can jump on different stations and visit the different places.
Yeah.
But also to use it as cargo, because that area doesn't have. The climate there and the nature is different. It's one of the protected environmental, ecological places of our country, especially in the state of Campeche. We have the biosphere of Calakmul, which is a jungle, a rainforest, more likely. So the importance of building this train route, but keeping an eye on the ecological side. So it's a very important project, and for instance, in that we need investments from the private sector. It's not only a government money that is going to be dedicated to this, but they are looking also to develop some manufacture plants depending on what the sector is. Yeah, so but right now is communications, let's say the communications. But that area also has different products that they can sell, tropical products, food products.
Oh, cool.
And, the habanero chili peppers, that's from that area. And there are other fruits, other vegetables. And that area used to be also a good producer of a fiber called enequén, from the plant enequén.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name in English, but it used to be for textiles, used in textiles. So it's an industry that, because of the synthetic fibers that came up in the last decades, that industry went down. So they are also trying to bring it back again. So it depends on which sector the proper business realize that they can opportunities there. But there will be, we think, great opportunities to invest in that part of the country. And that is also linked to another project that Mexico has to help the Central American countries, especially Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, to develop their own industry, to try to create more opportunities for immigrants to get jobs in their own countries, and in some cases in the southern part of Mexico, so they don't need to migrate. So that's also linked to the immigration issue that is also in the news every day nowadays. So it's all linked. Now is the relationship with the U.S. on the economic side, the investment projects in that area of the country, but also the investments in Central America, which the government of the United States have promised before that they will help. But Mexico has all those projects going on with the new government, and that's why we are stressing the importance of the investments from the private sector in Mexico and in the U.S. and other countries also. But since we have such a close relationship with the U.S., you are our main partners in all these issues. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It sounds like you guys have a lot on your plate, and this is really exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is because the new government is coming up with these issues, with these projects particularly, for a certain specific area of the country. So the participation of every sector is very important.
It really is. So would you say that you are looking for investments?
Yeah.
Do you have some already in the works? I know you have the project set up, but do you have investors ready at the helm?
No, that I know the information that we don't.
I don't know if you can share that. Maybe I should ask that.
We don't handle that information, but that's the idea of this summit, to have the businessmen from both countries in one place, and a very important delegation from the U.S. government. The Secretary of the Department of Trade, Wilbur Ross, was heading the delegation of the U.S., and also the Corporation for Private Investments in the U.S. participating in this. Other important businesses like BlackRock, this investment company of this country, and they all agree that it's very important to keep a very good relationship between Mexico and the U.S. in all issues, and especially interested in this part of the new projects that the government of Mexico is putting in place.
Yes. And there's a lot to offer in that southern part, and I know that you want to keep your rainforest protected, and it's a beautiful area, and you have quite a history in that part of that part of Mexico. But tourism would be lovely there, as you mentioned. Some agriculture.
That's and it's not only the Yucatan Peninsula; it's also the states of Chiapas, which is the border with Guatemala and Belize, Oaxaca, which is another beautiful state, that I'm talking about the southern part of Mexico. The train will be only for the peninsula of Yucatan, but the other projects, for instance, in Oaxaca, right now they are developing very much the eolic industry, wind
Yes.
generating electricity.
Yes, yeah.
How you call that?
The solar power. But
But the wind, with the windmills or
turbines,
that's exactly what it is. So Oaxaca is developing that, but that's another beautiful state. It has wonderful gastronomy, wonderful archaeological sites. So it's a mixture of developing the state, for instance, Oaxaca, with these new industries, ecologically oriented, but also the tourism and all sorts of things. There's another project that they are trying to develop, I understand, which is, I think it's a railway also, to cross it's Tehuantepec, which is the tiniest part between the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific, to unite the Pacific and the Gulf of Mexico, like it is the Panama Canal, but by train. And that will be a train for passengers and for cargo also. So
that would be lovely.
Yeah, so you can travel in that area, which is also beautiful, and it has a lot of attractions, and for the communities that live in that area also is a good way of transportation. But also cargo is what they call, I think, something like a dry bridge or something like that. So you bring the trade from the Asia Pacific countries to the state of Oaxaca, to the port, Salina Cruz, which is the port on the Oaxaca side, on the Pacific. And then the merchandises can cross to the Gulf of Mexico for trade. Again, we go back to the trade issue. Yeah.
And that will certainly beef up some jobs, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. Investment,
absolutely.
Jobs, more trade, and also that area, because it will be Oaxaca and part of the state of Veracruz.
Yeah.
Those are areas that have a lot of agriculture products also.
Yeah.
So it's the industries, the energy, the transportation, trade, tourism, very, as they call, to create ecosystems for investment and for development, especially to develop these areas that are not so modern as other parts of the country.
Yeah, well, this is a broad spectrum of industries that you're looking to bring in, and that's really exciting. And speaking of transportation and railways, one thing that Europe has really done very well is making sure that across their country they have really good railways and systems. And I think North America's getting there. We're slow going about it, but we're getting there, and that's exciting stuff.
Well, we need to modernize also some parts of our railway system, because it's kind of old. They don't use it. We forgot about trains for a long time, but now it's coming back. And there are other parts of the country that are connected through train for tourist purposes, like in the state of Chihuahua, we have the Copper Canyon, that you can take the train and will cross the whole canyon to go to the Pacific. You can get all the way to the Pacific, and it's a beautiful place to visit, but you can do it by train. So train is important, very important.
Well, and we have the same issues in the U.S., right? Yeah. Exactly. New York, they have really great public transportation. Colorado's getting there. So, yeah, it's wonderful to see that you've got all this infrastructure coming up and all of these new industries that are hopefully going to plant themselves in the southern part of Mexico. So I clearly you're excited about this and ready to get on board. What are some next steps that we're looking at?
On the
projects.
Well, Mexico still has the new government still is working on the national development plan they just presented yesterday to the Congress, and that will be like the base to then get the resources for developing these very ambitious projects. But the important point is the private investments that can come to these regions and keep the development projects that we want to have in those areas.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we certainly hope that we see some more development there. But on the terms of USMCA, what are last thoughts on that?
Well, the very important issue that we were talking about, it was that this agreement needed to be modernized. The negotiations were held in very serious way,
Yeah.
and with a commitment of the three countries to keep working on improve our trade and our regulations. There are certain issues like the steel and the aluminum tariffs that haven't been resolved, but on the other way, on the other track, the ratification process is going on. So we hope that we will have it in Mexico soon. But it's very important that the ratification process goes smoothly in the U.S. also, because it's very important for the three countries, for Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., and for states like Colorado that have also Mexico as the second partner, especially the exports that Colorado sent to Mexico, and the trade in general that we have. It has been increasing little by little since NAFTA. But it keeps growing, and we see that there is much interested here in the Colorado business to develop more economic relations with Mexico. So the USMCA, once it's ratified, and we hope it's ratified, will help in that, because we will have new regulations, we will have more sectors to explore. So it will be good for everyone, and we will keep this very successful economic relationship that we have had for the last 25 years between Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. And it is important for the local businessmen and the local government, the state government, to give the support for the USMCA ratification. So I understand that the Colorado Business Roundtable is working very hard on that, along with the National Business Roundtable, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, but we need to gather the support here also from the legislatures, the federal representatives, the senators, anyone that can help to push the ratification face-to-face to the Congress, which is this. The Congress is the one that is going to ratify it or to approve it, right?
Yes.
So that's very important, the job that the Colorado Business Roundtable is doing, along with our good friend, the Consul General of Canada, and we participate also from the Consulate of Mexico.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been a wonderful partnership, and we appreciate you coming on to tell us more about USMCA and Mexico's role in making sure that we get this ratified. And I, for one, am excited, and I have really high hopes that we're going to get this
we all are in that.
Yes.
Focus.
Well, thank you, Berenice. It has been a pleasure having you on.
No, thank you, and please let us know if we can do any more programs. Thank you.
Absolutely. We will definitely keep in touch with you.
Okay.
Thank you. Be sure
Thank
to
you.
like and subscribe to our YouTube page while you're here. Check out USMCA Coalition as well. Make sure that you are calling your senators, legislators to let them know that you want this USMCA passed. And thank you so much. It's been
Thank
lovely.
you.